Well, good morning, Western Oregon. How are you doing? It's good to see everybody. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty good today. I'm feeling hopeful about our institution. I'm feeling proud to work with the people in this room, and I'm feeling honored to serve our students in our community. So I'll take a few moments today to talk specifically about community, reminding us of where we have been and where we are headed. 2 years ago, I laid out a vision for Western, and even though we still have stress points to manage, and as I said then, we will have some moments that don't go as we had hoped, I see us as on a positive pathway. But before we do that, I'd like to thank you all for coming out this morning. We have Senator Patterson and Representative Evans. Representative Evans is an alum. We also have the city managers from both Monmouth and Independence, Rochelle Roden and Kenna West. Mayor Cecilia Kuntz, the superintendent of Central School District Jen Kabista, and several city councilors from both Monmouth and Independence. Also happy to have WU alum Mackenzie Newland, president and CEO of the Monmouth Independence Chamber of Commerce here. It's like a star-studded event. I also want to acknowledge members of the current BOT in attendance, Paige Jackson, Betty Comp, and Dana Showalter. And I wanted to take a moment just to publicly thank Cease Kuntz, who has finished her term on the Board of Trustees, for her years of service in that capacity to this institution. She is the last trustee, I believe, who was on the original Board of Trustees for Western Oregon University, and she has been an asset to this school and this community for many years. So thank you, Cease. I also would like to personally thank Betty Comp, another proud Western alum, for her service as chair of the Board of Trustees. She has guided the institution through presidential transition, budget cuts, policy changes, and board transitions. Thank you for your work, and I'm very happy that she will remain on the board as we welcome in our new chair, Angela Fasana. So thank you, Betty. And of course, my partner, Dr. Susan Kanata, is also here with us today, and I appreciate her support every day. I told Tina Fuchs I wouldn't get emotional, so I'm going to really try. She earned tenure and rank of full professor at 2 different institutions in her career, so she knows how academia works for sure, and it's helpful to have a partner who knows why I'm gone all the time. I also want to welcome our new employees at Western. We were cycling through those employees on the screen as you were coming in. If you were hired within the last year, please stand up and let us applaud you and welcome you to the PAC, to our community. I try to attend as many new employee orientation sessions as possible. It's really important to me that new employees understand that we are trying to create a welcoming and inclusive environment for all members of our community, and we are committed to working on that. I sincerely hope you are enjoying your work here and will for a long time to come. And I also want to thank all the members of our community who make events like this possible. And we have a lot of events this week, so I hope you will attend many of those. So please join me in applauding the people who plan and execute these events, who provide interpreting services, logistics, advertising, catering, custodial services, computer and tech services, public safety, and so many others. As Jackson always says, WU works because you do. So thank you. Western is so much more than a beautiful campus in a beautiful location. Last year in this address, my theme was Powered by Place, and I talked about how we are defined by place and noted for this location. But a place is as much about the people as the physical location, about the ways a community of individuals chooses to relate to each other, to support each other, to work together towards common goals. It's about how we all create Western Oregon University for our students, for our community, and for each other. A campus is a product of the people more than it is of the buildings. That is what truly sets us apart, not just from large universities, but also from the other regionals in Oregon. As you know, I spend quite a bit of time with the other 6 presidents of the public universities. They're all good people working for the betterment of their institutions, and I want them all to succeed. However, I also know that this institution is unique in its focus on historically underserved communities, unique in its long history of teacher education, unique in its atmosphere and environment that makes students feel welcome, supported, and seen. Our students see possibility, and they believe that the employees here want them to succeed and will help them as best they possibly can. I hope you all have had a chance to watch the college tour episodes. In those, you will hear from our own students in their own words about what makes this institution special. They talk about the faculty, the advisors, the student organizations, the internships, the athletics, but the thread that holds them all together is their genuine feeling of support. So our challenge, especially as we increasingly are asked to compete for more students out of a smaller and smaller potential student population, is to see how we can listen to what those students are telling us and learn how to serve them even better. Now is the time to lean into the notion that we are a campus of student support and service, and our new strategic plan positions us to do just that. But before we talk about that, let's take a few minutes to look at what we have accomplished as a community over the last 2 years, and then look at where we are statistically. I'm going to pause a little bit on slides so people have time to look. As you look at this list, know that these things only happen because of teams of people working collaboratively and with purpose. I'd like to highlight the equity assessment work for a moment as an example of how we are leaning into being the institution that our students expect. Our own Board of Trustees had already set the stage for this work before I arrived by dedicating funds for an outside equity assessment. The Office of DEI had already been established shortly before I became president, and the university had a diversity plan. Honestly, those factors are a large part of why I was attracted to this position. And I'll also note that our BOT remains the only board in Oregon that has a committee on diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. Like I said before, this university is different. Once we identified a consultant and launched the equity assessment, we started a process that would be the catalyst for positive change at our university. When we reviewed the results of the assessment, we knew there was work to do, and our action plan was developed and adopted. Here's a moment to remember about our community. In the sessions where the assessment findings were reviewed, there were lots of emotions. I knew I was in a special place when the first statement was always, how can we make this better? Not, this is wrong, or why would anyone say that? People were not angry or defensive. They were upset and hurt that anyone, especially our students, would have negative feelings about our community, and they wanted to fix it. Here are a few examples of how we've been responding to feedback since we began the equity assessment and started expanding opportunities for university feedback like the fireside chats. We now have 5 wellness and meditation rooms open and available for all students and employees. We are starting to shift classroom furniture for improved accessibility. We have implemented the common application for admissions. We increased inventory in the library for students to check out tech equipment like laptops. We are increasing support for first-generation students, including an advisor in student success and advising. and the First Generation Center coming online this winter with plans to host our First Generation Week November 4th through 8th. The work is ongoing, and it always will be. We will always find ways to improve how we serve the community. And to that end, please watch for the Campus Climate Survey, Howl for Change, which will launch in October. This is a chance to extend the conversation and provide even more feedback that will inform our strategies and actions. But there's still another slide of what we have accomplished in the last 2 years. And these are all just highlights of the work that we have done. And there have been new innovations launched in every unit on campus, and the accomplishments listed here span many units, departments, and divisions. These things don't happen without a strong community, without all of you feeling like you can help us answer the question, how can we do things better? I get emails and suggestions all the time from people all across the university. I think a few of you have sent me like 20, or 30, or maybe even 40. But in all seriousness, I love the fact that you want to share ideas and that you care enough to engage in dialogue. We saw it during the budget reduction process in my first year. We saw it in the equity assessment process. We saw it in the development of the strategic plan, and we see it in public comment on policies. Though I can't always respond directly or in the depth I would like to, know that your ideas are always considered and discussed and often implemented and help us make positive change. So let's talk for a minute about our strategic plan. This slide is a list of the people who worked the lead on that. Education, innovation, community. Of course, we are about education, and I could talk at length about the power of education to change lives and alter the trajectory of families and communities in positive ways. And let me say something that might be controversial to some. Education is not just about getting a job. So I'll say that again. Education is not just about getting a job. Of course, we want our graduates to have employment and fulfilling lives, but reducing education, specifically higher education, down to phrases like workforce development and economic impact, erases the value of learning. The next logical step is what we're seeing now all across America. More and more people saying, if college is all about getting a job, then I can get a job now without going to college. So why go? It's not worth it. We have allowed worth to be defined only in one way. We have done ourselves and society a disservice by talking about jobs and ignoring the value of learning, of thinking critically, of evaluating choices, of understanding history, politics, physics, rhetoric, of self-reflection, of humanity and human motivations. I don't know about you, but I think learning things is good. It's good. Innovation is in the title of our plan because we are constantly seeking new and better ways of doing things. And community is the glue that holds it all together. With so much political division, violence, and hatred throughout the world, now more than ever it seems, we need a sense of community, one that is supportive and collaborative. And we need a sense of innovation, a willingness to find new ways to operate, new ways to serve our students. Our mission statement is short and memorable and speaks to the philosophy of what Western does. Belonging and empowerment are realized in a myriad of ways, but they are the building blocks for success. Our vision statement reminds us of our focus on inclusion and accessibility as we produce graduates who have a meaningful impact in the world and experience social mobility as they navigate their lives. Our core values are simple, but speak to the elements that make this community unique and strong. And I'll pause here so you can read these slides. Centering students. Embracing diversity. fostering accessibility. And valuing community. These values are how we will approach our strategies for the future. Right now, every unit in the university is working to finalize their own strategic plans that explain how they will help to realize the overall university strategic initiatives and goals. We are implementing a culture where everyone will have a sense of how they are contributing to the overall success of the institution. We will ask ourselves exactly how we are centering students, for example, as we make decisions and allocate resources. And we do have challenges to face in a time of unstable enrollments and limited resources. Before we get into where we are relative to resources, let's take a look at some of our key data indicators. People like data. Here's some data. First, let's take a look at our demographic data. This is a breakdown, and thanks to Institutional Research for supplying this to me. What we see here is that we are an increasingly diverse institution that serves a lot of first-generation students, Pell-eligible students, and students from the state of Oregon. You might also note that the bubble of yearly decreasing enrollment is still having the effect of us graduating more students than we're bringing in, although we see a little bit of reversal of that in the freshman class increasing. So that's a good sign for us. Now, strong retention rates will help that. You know, as people always say in academia, if you can keep the students you enroll, then you are well on the way to solving an enrollment issue. And that's true, certainly for a regional institution. The next slide indicates how our percentage of Latino students has been increasing steadily. Last year, we met the 25% of undergraduate students, FTE, who identify as Latine metric for this first year towards eligibility. 2 more years at that level or above, and we will qualify for official HSI status with the federal government. Yes? That designation will open up federal grant dollars that we can use to better serve all of our students. The steps we are taking now, through initiatives like the Equity Action Plan, the Climate Survey, the First Generation Support Center, the Summer Bridge and Orientation programs, and family and community outreach, are preparing us to be a university that truly serves students, not just enrolls them. Next, I always like to show the community our 4- and 6-year graduation rates. We have work to do here. We've talked about it before. The provost has talked about this as well. The national average at 4-year public universities, 4-year publics, is around 33% for 4-year and 67% for 6-year graduation. We are at 30% and 45% respectively. 47. In order to move these statistics, it will take a collective effort. We need a strong wraparound student services, excellent advising systems, clear pathways to graduation, and a curriculum that is easy to navigate and deliver consistently. We need strong teaching and learning support, and we need to ensure that students have access to resources and information. We are making these strides every day, and I appreciate all the good work I see happening, but more importantly, the students appreciate it. Last year, we saw the highest retention rate ever at Western, and that is a testament to our community, placing students first. And I include this next slide so you can see a demographic breakdown of our student body. Looks like I was slow on my slide changing. This slide is the retention. It dropped slightly this year. Last year was an all-time high. but we're still doing good work in that area. As we turn to enrollment, which is always on everyone's minds, last year we saw an increase in enrollment for the first time in 12 years. We were up about 5% in headcount and 3% in FTE. That was an important moment for our community. And it happened because of the hard work, recruiting, and a focus on telling the story of Western better while simultaneously working on student success and retention. I had every reason to believe that the enrollment would increase again or remain flat as we started our move towards a target of 5,000 students in 5 years. But as you're going to see on this next slide, the enrollment projection is that we will be down. This is not good news for us, and it will impact our fiscal planning and sustainability models. So why is enrollment down? And these are not final numbers, but I chose to share them with you because I share things with you. And this will alter slightly as we move to census, but we are projected to be, this is looking like 2 to 3% down in FTE. So why is enrollment down? It's a hard question to answer. But there are factors that I wanted to draw your attention to, factors that have contributed to a decline. Some are familiar and some are new, unique to this year. The first one is the FAFSA debacle. If you followed that, you know what I mean. The late rollout of the new federal financial aid form, coupled with the error submitting and processing the forms, meant that students did not receive financial aid decisions or packaging or even the form in a timely manner. This disproportionately affected low-income and students of color. At one point this year, FAFSA applications were down 46% in the U.S. Many students chose to go ahead and secure employment and wait to go to college. And there's also the worry that they may never make the choice to attend college after they've gone into the workforce. That's one thing. Another thing is a good economy right now and low unemployment. Jobs are readily available and unemployment has continued to be historically low. People can acquire jobs right out of high school and fewer people are under pressure to shift their careers, a move that often demands a return to the college classroom. Low graduation rates in the state of Oregon. I think the average graduation rate in Oregon is around 80%, and of those students, fewer and fewer are choosing to go to college. Only about 56% of graduates choose to enter college in Oregon, and that has fallen by about 10% over the last decade. The enrollment cliff that we used to talk about a lot, and now we sort of forget about, still is happening. Fewer college students are in the flow to attend college. Fewer families chose to have children in the early 2000s, especially during the housing bubble crash. We have anticipated a sharp decline in new college-age citizens in the 24 to 26 window beginning. Schools are increasingly competitive for students, and many are lowering their admission standards in order to enroll more students. Budget issues in K through 12 world has impacted us as well. School districts have fewer funds to support the continuing education of their employees through graduate education. Thus, there's an impact on graduate student enrollment. And then this one is one that we need to take note of, and many of you have talked about, and it's a reality in Oregon. It's a reality in many states, but it is a large reality in Oregon. The rapid expansion of our large institutions. University of Oregon, in particular Oregon State, have increased enrollments over the last decade. OSU alone is up 16% in the last 10 years. They have also expanded their locations and facilities with the addition of what is quickly becoming a 5th regional in Bend, OSU Cascades, and a satellite campus in Portland, University of Oregon at Portland. OSU has plans to expand online students to 30,000 and to double their Cascade student population. Additionally, these schools have decided to recruit heavier in the WUI states that we also draw a lot of students from. So, we will face challenges this year and we will have to budget for a deficit spend. Our 5-year map to sustainability developed 2 years ago included deficit spending as we also worked to increase our enrollments. And we did better last year than projected, ending with slightly higher reserves than anticipated. We have also cut expenses and operated more frugally in the last 2 years, and that has helped us significantly. Thanks to all you for contributing and looking for ways to save. I really appreciate it. I want you to applaud yourselves for making that effort. It's good. But we are certainly not out of the woods yet. When I first arrived, I told the community that this would be a process and we would have setbacks as we turned our trajectory around. We will need to look for more efficiencies and explore potential cost savings and shared services with other institutions. We will look for increased revenue opportunities, including recruiting more international students and potential public-private partnerships. And we will continue to make our case to the state legislature about the value of higher education in general, but specifically about the value of regional universities. However, I have seen few, if any, indicators that increasing funding for higher education is a priority for this state. We can't anticipate or expect any major change in the near future. We keep trying though, but we can't expect it. And as I said at the beginning of the address, we will make a strong case about the value of Western Oregon University specifically. This next year will be the year where we start to see results of the changes to systems at Western. I have no doubt that our new strategic plan and equity action plan, our marketing branding strategies, our refocused teaching and learning center, our new grading policy, the launch of our new student success building will all have dramatic and positive effects on recruitment and retention. But we all must work together for the future, and we have to be innovative and willing to change how we do things from time to time. Now, the greatest asset we have in this work is all of you. It's you. I said that enrollment is everyone's responsibility in the past, and maintaining our community and focus is everyone's responsibility too. We have to maintain a competitive mindset and tell everyone why Western is a strong institution. We are all spokespeople for our university. We know what it offers and how special it is. Y'all know I wear Western branded gear most all the time when I'm out. Almost every time I'm in public, someone approaches me to talk about Western, to tell me what it means to them, how it saved one of their family members, how it provided help, how it opened up an opportunity, how it changed their lives. I just don't believe that happens to the other presidents very often. And I just spent 3 days with them, and I didn't see it happen at all. But it happened to me. They always look at me a little jealous when it happens, but I'm like, oh, well, hey, Western is unique. And it's not because of me. That happens because of you, because of this community. So I want you to join me. I know you do already, but let's really recommit to joining each other and me and telling that story loud and often. And here's what we're going to say. We're going to say, we are the best university. We have the best employees. We place our students at the center. We believe in the positive power of diversity. We strive towards accessibility. We value community. We are, and it is community that will get us where we want to be. We are now and always will be joined together in making this institution the best it can be. We make a vibrant campus together every day. As we move through the academic year, these are the main issues that I will be focused on as president. Implementing the strategic plan and equity assessment action plan, increasing enrollment and retention, improving partnerships with school systems and community colleges, improving technological infrastructure and systems, improving degree pathways and student support, exploring new revenue sources and grant opportunities, expanding our vibrant campus culture and community. The work we do is difficult work, but it's incredibly rewarding work, isn't it? incredibly rewarding. Each day, we get to make a difference in the lives of students and in each other's lives. Universities have always been places of possibility, of exploration, of change. And in this moment, please know that I will continue to do everything in my power to make our institution the best that it can possibly be. So I want to end with a poem. So I hope the English faculty are happy. We're having some literature now. Oh, we got some applause. I really like this poem by Mary Tallmountain. If you don't know Mary Tallmountain's work, she's passed away, but she's an indigenous poet who was born in Alaska, grew up in Oregon, spent the end years of her life in San Francisco. I like it first because it reminds us of how different cultures have differing worldviews, but also because it reminds us of how connected we all are as a community and how that never really goes away. And if you pay attention, you can feel how it also tells us something about the value of teaching and of learning. Sequoia, I said, looking through the net of wrinkles into wise black pools of her eyes. What do you say in Athabascan when you leave each other? What is the word for goodbye? A shade of feeling rippled the wind-tanned skin. Ah, nothing, she said, watching the river flash. She looked at me close. We just say tla. That means see you. We never leave each other. When does your mouth say goodbye to your heart? She touched me light as a bluebell. You forget when you leave us, you're so small then. We don't use that word. We always think you're coming back, but if you don't, we'll see you someplace else. You understand, there is no word for goodbye. So I hope you have a great year, and I'll just say see you around. Let's go do the good work that makes Western the special place it is. We are. Thank you. We have a little time if there are any questions, but before we do that, I'm going to take a 0.5. Do I take a 0.5? All right. Well, all right. I want to remind everybody about Friday. Oh, we got a question. And we'll need to use a microphone. Do I need to give them this microphone? Microphone.
Oh, my arms are not that long. Come on now. Can we pass it? Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Whoa. So you spoke about international students increasing that enrollment. I'm curious about the other direction, and can you say anything about the status of our study abroad program and your vision for study abroad here at Western?
Use that one. Oh, it's live.
All right, we're swapping microphones. So, I would say we both want to bring in international students to our campus, and that's really important to us. those of you who have been here a long time can remember when you had lots of international students on this campus that contributed to the culture here. We also want students to be able to go on study abroad trips. At this point, we don't have the resources to stand up a fully staffed study abroad office. I think some of that's coming out of the pandemic that kind of ceased to operate anyway. We want to look to the future for that. Students still can be advised into doing study abroad through another entity and then transferring those credits back. So there's a way that they could participate, but our own office at this time, we're not managing study abroad. So it's a question we'll take up in the future, and Provost and I have talked about that. But again, we have to do what we can do and plan the best ways we can with the resources right now. We have increased recruiting efforts for international students, and I am hopeful that we'll start to see some change in that and some influx. Yeah.
Hi. You mentioned sort of a dichotomy between learning and getting a job. And as a career counselor on campus, I don't see a lot of people who just come here to get a job. They kind of want to create a life for themselves and their families. But at the same time, we also have in our vision statement to increase social and career mobility for our students. And I'm curious how you might envision accomplishing that and how that might also impact retention, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's lots of research that tells us that receiving a 4-year degree increases your lifetime earnings, and also, well, actually learning too, your desire to be a lifelong learner. Learnings and earnings, that's kind of a good rhyme. And I also think that it contributes to social and economic mobility, that degree. So it's true that people can go into trades and have a great career, great life. One thing that a 4-year degree can give you is the ability to switch professions quicker, faster, sometimes easier, and to be a little bit more mobile in those endeavors. And I think that provides a choice. I tell a story a lot to people that my parents, who were sharecropping folks, really valued higher education. They didn't understand anything about it, but they really valued it. And I think in their generation, they saw it as the vehicle for choice and for mobility. I don't think they ever put social mobility in their vocabulary, but the idea that you could do something other than farm if you wanted to was the push that they had for us to attend college. So I still think all of that holds true. Here's another slight example I think that connects to that. I was recently at the Oregon Business and Industry Roundtable with some of the presidents. I think 4 or 5 of us were there, but there were lots of major business leaders in that room, from healthcare, banking, Walmart, construction, lots of people in the room. And the icebreaker for that event was the question, what do you look for in your employees? Almost every single person answered with some version of communication skills, entrepreneurial thought, critical thinking, ability to work well with other people. So my point is that they didn't say a bunch about their content areas. There were a couple like they need to learn how to use Microsoft Office Suite, or they need some sense of accounting. But it's funny that some of them even said things like a sense of humanity, a notion of what kindness in the workplace is. So I was fascinated. I finally at the end said, it sounds like you need a bunch of English majors. Which they thought was funny too. But then I think, but you know, the humor in that, and there is some truth that maybe the entrepreneurial, innovative notion of how we see the valuable skills that we acquire do need to have a little bit of a redefining in the skills that people like to call soft skills. But when the major employers in your state are asking for them, maybe they're more hard skills than we think they are. And we can't just say, oh, you're just going to absorb all that. So going to college, to answer that question, I think provides students with skills that allows them to be mobile and to give those employers what they're asking for, even if they're in different fields. I mean, I can assure you that most English majors don't think they're going to be college presidents. So something happened. I had some mobility and some choice and things like that.
Could you talk a little bit about recruiting initiatives?
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we stood up several things last year, including our new marketing strategy, which I think is having a positive effect. We look at the data of contact points on social media, and it's very, very encouraging. We also partnered with EAB, and I think their help in securing funnels of applications has helped us. You know, in some ways, with all the things that have happened in Oregon, I would just say this, other schools are going to be down much more than we are. That doesn't make it okay, right? That's not an excuse, but I think it is something that we should consider. Our college tour media is a great tool for us now that we can use. We own that. We can use that. And, you know, we're going to have a moment also to reset our admissions world. I think the move for us to consolidate some efforts under Paige Jackson is going to be helpful for us, and we're going to have some different approaches coming out of admissions this year. But I do think, you know, back to my point about us all being spokespeople, I mean, it's easy to kind of discount that as, oh, yeah, whatever. But I think it has a profound and dramatic effect when we, inside and outside of our community, here on campus, talk about this institution in ways, and we show up as Western employees in ways that are noticeable to other people. I think that all of that helps us get on radars. One thing I talked about in my first year was that, you know, we're this best kept secret, and no one wants to hear that anymore. It's like, we don't want to be a secret. We're not a secret. And then people, even in Salem, often don't know much about us at all. It's kind of amazing. They're like, oh, I don't really know. Where is that again? So I think in many ways it'll take a little bit of time for us to get back in this public eye in a way that we want to, that makes us something that comes to mind. And we are a vital part of Marion, Polk, Gamhill counties for many reasons. And so here's another interesting thing. I was at the Salem Chamber of Commerce talking about public education, not just higher education, with the president of Chemeketa and the superintendent of Salem Kaiser. And when I started, there was about maybe 200 people in there. I said, how many of you went to Western, have family go to Western, work at Western now, or have worked at Western? And it was like over half the room raised their hand. And so I said, well, there you go. That shows you right there how important this institution is to this place. We're producing the people who are the leaders in these communities. So we need to talk about that as well. I mean, like I said, maybe you didn't hear me all with clapping, but Paul Evans is one of our alums and a state rep, and Betty Comp has been in his legislature and is an alum. And I think that we need to remind folks that this institution, I think more than any regional, has produced people who are leading the state in positive ways. So Friday, let's talk a little bit about Friday. So typically, we have this talk and then we have a lunch reception. Did that my first year. Second year, tried to change it up a little bit, and we did this talk on Friday to end the week. Mixed reviews. And we had the reception. So this week we're having the talk, and then Friday we're having a fun time. It's going to be outside, in the Grove. We've gotten Tuesday String Band to play. I hope some of you know them. They're our current and former students. Great, great trio. Then we're going to have some barbecue and some volleyball and who knows what all. We're going to have a good time together as a community, so I hope people will make an effort to come for a little while if you can. All right. Well, thanks everyone.